You're listening to the Lung Lab podcast made possible by the Open Source Imaging Consortium. Here's your host, Elizabeth Estes.
We're going to talk with Sandra Stapleton, the COO of Vida, who are our platform partners for the OSIC database. Sandra was instrumental in helping us understand what we needed as we move forward with the database. We built one early on, and then technology changed, and we realized from a user experience perspective, we needed to upgrade it. And so Sandra came to the table and helped us do just that and understands not only the technology, but what we can do for patients. So here she is. So I'm with Sandra Stapleton, the COO of Vida, our platform partner for the OSIC database and ecosystem that we have. Sandra, great to have you here.
Please be here.
So, I remember vividly giving you a call about 4 years ago saying, I need help. We need help. OSIC, the platform we built before, wasn't image forward. This is image first platform. And you said, Elizabeth, we can help you. And where we started to where we are now, lots have happened.
Yeah. The timing actually was very good because it was right after Vida. We had actually expanded our services to take a data-centric in the cloud, a cloud-based platform. We built one for our trial services. And so the timing was great because we had this infrastructure, this database for managing data that was very applicable for OSIC. So it was a great timing.
Yeah. And so let's talk a little bit about the platform. First of all, I think what people say to us a lot when they use the OSIC platform is, this thing is so user-friendly. Drag and drop this images with a CRF, with the clinical data. That's the powerful part about the database. The image and the clinical data are married up. Was that part of the whole, something that you saw in the ecosystem that said, hey, this is something we need to get over for people to make this easier? Because none of them are easy.
Right. Our platform really was developed to solve a problem. And the problem was how to make it easy to share data, to get data from sites, to be able to collect and organize and curate data. That's why we put it together. We had been running clinical trials, and the challenge, actually during COVID, it was kind of emphasized, was how to make it as easy as possible for sites to share data for clinical trials. So that was really how our platform began. So I think that mindset of how to make imaging data easy really carried forward into helping to solve some of the challenges that OSIC was facing.
So talk a bit about, we have some new views on the platform itself, which people are very excited about. Dr. Jonathan Chung and Dr. Joe Jacob seem to be very happy about these new views. Talk a little bit about what's there and then the new features that we've added, from the views to the searchability, those kind of things.
Right. I think initially, obviously, the big challenge for OSIC was how to bring in a lot of data and make that data available. And that was the first challenge that I think, we partnered, and I think we really had a great solution now for getting that data in. As your database grows, then the problem is, well, how can the users use it? How can we really make it user-friendly to be able to access and understand the data? And there's two parts to that we've really tried to help advance with this latest features. One is when you want to go in and look at the data and see what you have, CT scans can be very large.
Right.
A single scan can have 500 slices, and you have to look through it and try to figure out what does this patient have. Well, the new views that we've put in there are really kind of snapshot views, intended to be kind of a quick look at what a data set has in it, so you know whether that data set might be of interest to you. And we actually have leveraged some AI to do that, and understanding how to do that. It's one of the things. AI is not just about numbers, but also about how to visualize and how to look at information.
Which has been interesting because a lot of the AI, not so much the ones that have come in, but a lot of when we've done challenges, because we've done, as you know, public challenges with some of our data to get it out there. And we had about 2,000 machine learners look at this data. They did not know how to manage the images.
Right. It's a common problem. It's one of the things that, you've talked about it before. Data is easy, but good data is hard. And
right.
It really is. It really is. So I think that was the first part, was making the data really understandable, what's in the data in the large OSIC database. The second part is, for AI developers, you want to be able to create a cohort and train on certain characteristics. I want to look at patients who are non-smokers, females, living a certain category of images.
Right.
So having really robust filters that allow you to do that and to understand what's in the data allow you to create even more intelligent algorithms. So we've done that now. We've added really robust filters that really show, in my opinion, the value of OSIC, which is it's not just about the images.
Yeah.
You got the images and all that information, but you also have all the clinical data, all the demographic data, and all that in one place. so the users can now go in and understand what's there and be able to create their imaging cohorts.
And what's cool about this platform is, when we started it, people have heard me say this ad nauseum, but we started this and we let perfect be the enemy of good.
Yeah.
Right? We did. And then we said, okay, time out. We just need to have this base level of clinical data that goes appended with the images, right?
Yeah.
And then as we've gone on and as the machine learners have started to use it more and more, they've said, hey, we need this, we need that. That's what's cool about the platform. We can configure it like that.
Yeah, we can add on easy to add on other information as we get it. As we look to expand from CT, we have some X-rays, we can look at MR and PET, all the other modalities. There's going to be other information too that's going to be useful that we can bring in.
Well, yeah, we're working with the Foundation for Sarcoidosis Research, and we're bringing in now PET scans of the heart, which was the first time. It was kind of weird for me because I'm like, wait, we're going from lung to heart, but sarcoid affects 90% of the people with sarcoid have lung issues, but they also could have heart issues. And so learning how to bring those different images in and the different modalities from the HRCT to a PET, it's different.
Right.
And you don't realize that until you try to normalize them all in one database.
Right.
So yeah, that's been a challenge, but it's been something that's cool because the platform allows us to do it.
Yeah, no, I think it's a real value of what OSIC has is that ability to have all that information and which can be expanded on for these other disease states.
So we talked, I want to ask this question. I've talked about this, but what do you think we need to do? We meaning the larger we, the people who are building their own databases, whether they're in their own institutions or whatever, or the collaborative we in this community, to try to help regulators understand the power of this and understand the value of this. And what do we need to do better to help them get to the point where they say, okay, well, OSIC's got this crazy good validation set. Anybody that uses it, move on down the road, right? They'll get there quicker. Our whole job is to try to find and help these patients quicker. So what do we need to do better, do you think? Or what do we need to do next?
So I think we're on the right path, which is really bringing in very diverse, heterogeneous data, because you want to make sure that an algorithm works across a patient population. It's not going to work if it just works on a certain type of patient. So I think bringing in more robust and diverse data, and then being very transparent about what's there, and making sure that it's in a structured, organized, kind of controlled way. Regulators want to know that it's controlled, so access to it's controlled, and that I think the framework and the platform and what OSIC has is really set up for that.
What's been interesting is it's OSIC's had to deal with a little bit of competing regulatory rules, right? Mm-hmm. So with GDPR, we can't say where the data comes from, which we have no problem. We can say the region, right? But so we are very much about patient privacy. We are very much about following those rules. And then when it comes to the regulatory bodies in the US, they want to know where the data comes from.
Absolutely.
And so we say, we can't tell you where the data comes from. So it's been an interesting learning of how to try to bring these two bodies together to make sure that we can make progress on behalf of the patients. And, I'm not being critical because it is what it is. And we also didn't know what we know now about where we can go with algorithms and where we can go with data like this. But it has been a struggle for us to try to figure out how to get these two competing regulatory rules to work together.
Right, and also different regional requirements.
Oh, yes.
And that's, I think, OSICs get data across the world, and of course, different regions have different kind of restrictions.
Yeah, I actually didn't realize I was going to need to learn a lot about geopolitical issues. We're going out to get data for a rare disease to try to help make progress at a rare disease. But it has been an interesting battle. It's also been interesting. The platform is in 13 different languages because one of the things I never anticipated, because I'm myopic on here's the data and this is how you get it. Different countries call the disease something different. They use different language. They use different codes. They use different names. And so normalizing that has been a huge part of the effort with OSIC.
And that's, I think, one of the big values of OSIC that maybe people don't realize at first, but that challenge of bringing in data across the world and having it be able to be compared and leveraged and understand that normalization is a big part of it. That's one of the reasons I think that we've been able to make that progress with OSIC is the platform. Vida, we support trials in 45 countries worldwide. Right. So we've had to put in some of the different regional requirements in order to do that. OSIC leverages that in terms of organizing the data. Yeah,
it's funny. We kind of are co-building this together because someone will ask for something and then we'll add it on and OSIC will bring it out and roll it out, which has been a good part of this. I've asked, well, actually, you've seen this happen when we've had meetings where you've had patients and then all of a sudden I get hit with, Elizabeth, can I give you my data? Yeah. Right? We want their data badly, right? But we don't want to put any burden on them to bring the data. Eventually, we know the platform will allow us to do it.
Yes.
So I have asked everybody about the crystal ball, and maybe I'm telling you what I'm hoping we're going to see. Two things. So in the crystal ball of OSIC, will we see native language processing, and will we see the ability to be able to take patient data directly? Because I think that'll change the game. And, I say this a lot, and I mean this deeply, because we've worked so hard on the privacy aspect of this database. Yes. We've worked so hard, 8 months with the law firm in Germany to make sure that everything that we're doing, you guys work so hard to make sure that it's safe and secure on the back end, right? Yep. And so let me say very clearly, we believe in patient privacy and we value it and we fight for it. I also believe that patient privacy is for the well, because if you're dying of a rare disease, in my experience, people will say, I want to help, even if it doesn't help me, I want to help somebody else, right? So the ability to be able to take that data in, is that something you think that we'll get to?
I think so. I think you will. And I think it's important because also patients, are taking more control of their patient journey as well. I want to have access to things directly to be able to understand. And one of the big challenges with ILD is it takes, I think it was 3 or 4 different CT scans over a 3-year period to get diagnosed, just because is it one disease or is it many? All those challenges.
26 months to get diagnosed, right? Most people, 80% of people are misdiagnosed one time, 50% of people are misdiagnosed a second time. We can do better than that.
We can. And that's a lot of what the work that's being done with the data from OSIC is helping to shorten that time and help understand how to triage patients to different treatment paths. So if you're a patient, you want access to that if you're someone who's maybe got symptoms in that. So I do think that's going to be an important part.
And many of these patients live outside of a place where there's an academic medical center. Like I grew up on a farm in the middle of, the United States, the middle of Illinois. And I'm not sure I would have been able to be diagnosed. I would have been probably one of those people that would have been misdiagnosed twice because, it's a disease that's rare. And just by its name, a lot of the physicians don't know what they're seeing. And it's no smack on them. They can't know every single solitary disease. The other piece that I see in the future for OSIC is this native language processing.
Right. One of the great things about some of the data that's been brought in has been that it's not just the imaging, it's all the clinical data. And along with that comes radiology reports and physician clinical reports, which has a lot of verbose, very important information that's there. Being able to process and structure that and then make it be able to be leverageable for AI and other kind of technologies. You need that transition. I think it's
somebody asked me, what's the power of that, Elizabeth? I said, well, imagine this, right? Imagine if we can find patterns through all of this clinical notes that we have from physicians, and we can find patterns that show 90% of the people had misdiagnosed, but they had a cough, they were given an antibiotic, then they were giving a steroid. All of a sudden you find patterns. Those are clinical papers that goes out to those general practitioner physicians. Hey, that's interesting. I had a patient that just presented. Maybe we can get them referred sooner, right? So I think there's so much value in that data. I also think there's so much value in the bioinformatic data and the EHR data, so the electronic records data, right? Because again, if we can read those ICD-10 codes, ICD-9, ICD-10, whatever it is, and understand what they were diagnosed with before and find some patterns that seem to be consistent, that's powerful information to append to an image database and to a clinical database.
And like with all data, the data's and then structuring it, making it organizing it and making it leverageable is an important step and part of it.
Well, I can say, and that I've told you this privately, but we would never be where we were with all this data the way it is and the way it's structured without your help and without your brain and without your belief and passion for these patients. So, Sandra, I can't thank you enough.
It's been lovely.
Awesome.
Thanks for listening to the Lung Lab podcast from OSIC. Share this episode of the Lung Lab and subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. The Lung Lab podcast is produced by Bloodstream Media. Learn more at www.bloodstreammedia.com.